Today, we're exploring a conversation that so many people quietly wrestle with, but really say anything about out loud. What happens when you achieved everything you thought you wanted, yet something inside still feels unsettled? Our guest is an entrepreneur, an educator, a novelist, a creator of vulnerable chaos, and also an immigrant. I want to get into our conversation about identity, reinventing, creativity, and the courage it takes to become who you're truly meant to be. Our guest is Nataliya Falevich, and she's in the house with us. Nataliya, so good to see you. How are you today?
Hi, how are you? I am good, and thank you so much for having me. It was an epic introduction. I loved it.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and jump into our conversation. We talk about the things that we talk about a lot on this show: authenticity, purpose, what it means to have a life or live a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. So I want to get into this. So you accomplished many things that I guess people spend a lifetime chasing, multiple master degrees. You raised a family, which is pretty awesome by itself. That has to be applauded. Build a respected career, successful business owner and entrepreneur. You've kind of done the American dream for the most part. What do you think happens when the life you built no longer reflects the kind of person that you want to become now?
Oh my God, looking back. Yeah, listen, I think I've actually achieved that American dream. Now when I think about it, when I myself talk about it, it doesn't sound as epic as somebody else from the outside is saying it, and I'm like listening to it. Actually, this is a very interesting question because I don't think it happened really overnight for me.
Okay.
At least it didn't for me, because from the outside, my life looked and looks exactly the way that I actually hoped for it would. I worked really hard for it. I moved to the US at 22, yes,
Okay.
and I moved already with one master's because I got it in Moscow. And when I came over here, I evaluated it, and I got my master's. So I actually had to only go to graduate school. And while in New York already, I got two more masters in the course of my life, right? And then I built a successful childcare business.
Okay.
Yes, raised and still raising my three kids. My oldest son is 14.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My middle one is 12 and my younger one is 9. But at some point I realized that there was like a quiet part of me that had been waiting very, very patiently for years and years and years. And it wasn't happy. I mean, it wasn't unhappy. It was not.
Okay.
It was like
Okay.
simply, I would say, unheard. Okay, because I had
Hmm.
spent a lots and lots of my life building, achieving, solving problems, taking care of everybody else. That I really, I hadn't really asked myself a question like, what is that I myself want to create? Um, what is trying to go through me? Okay, and for me, that realization when I got it wasn't about like walking away from my life that I've built. It was about expanding it. It didn't stop. I didn't stop being an entrepreneur, right? I didn't stop loving my business. I didn't stop loving my kids, my family. I simply gave myself permission to become more than one thing. Okay.
Okay.
And that's when writing stopped feeling like a hobby for me and started feeling like something that I couldn't ignore anymore. And Velvet, that I just published in May, came out
Congratulations.
um, of a past life regression experience. I talk about it sometimes. It's interesting, but I think the reason it resonated so deeply with me is that I asked the same question, and I was asking in my own life, why are you like who are you beneath all the roles that you've learned to play? So, I think that's something that many people actually experience, especially after they've achieved what they have been working on. So success is wonderful. It's perfect, but eventually you realize that achievement and fulfillment aren't always the same thing. And sometimes the
Absolutely.
next chapter of your life isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally allowing yourself to become the person who you have been all along. You just didn't allow that person to come out.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned my hometown, and I definitely have seen a lot of that mindset there. Everything is kind of focused on external success, achievement, and a lot of times, especially in conversations recently with people like yourself, we talk about what happens when all those roles are stripped down.
Yeah.
Who are you when there's no uniform, when there's no company to be a CEO of? Who are
Yeah.
you? And that's why I applaud you from the outset about yourself as a mother and what you're doing to set the example of what it looks like to do multiple things and be successful at it. So I applaud you again for doing that, because I think it's really, really powerful stuff. It sounds like you lived several different lives all in one lifetime, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people, again, in my hometown in New York, and it's very common there, but it's common everywhere. It's universal, where people are changing directions because things didn't work out where they were. For yourself, can you give some advice to people who are watching and listening today who may be afraid of kind of leaving the more, how would I phrase it? I guess the more comfortable, stable situation, to leave for something that's maybe a little bit more unstable, like leaving an established company, working for somebody for 40, 50, 60 years, even to going into entrepreneurship. What would you say to them that are watching and listening today?
Oh my goodness. Listen, I'm coming exactly from that place because before I became an entrepreneur, I worked in board of education, right, for extended amount of years, and I've done it all in board of education, in education business. I actually climbed pretty high up. I'm that kind of girl. I'm that kind of girl, with bugs up my behind, that, you know, she can't stay where she is. She needs to be more, and I've done it all. You ask me, I've done it. And I left um, board of education. Believe it or not, whoever is going to be listening right now over there, right? And they know what board of education is. And when you're high up over there, you don't leave. You die over there, okay? Because everything is there. The social security benefits, you know all of this, okay? The
Yeah.
amazing insurance and job security and everything. And I left that place. Okay, I was that crazy psycho, they called me, that came one day to my boss and said, I have to go. And she looked at me and she said, are you okay? Maybe you need some time. Maybe you need to go to therapy. Maybe you
Okay.
need to take a vacation. What is going on? So listen, I hear what you just said to me. It just came to me all like in memories, like
I
flashes
see
of
that.
all the things
Okay,
came
tell
up
me
to me. Yeah.
that.
Listen, I often like hear all these dramatic stories about people like quitting everything overnight, to follow their passion, right? I often hear the stories, and you too, right? And all of us do. But I'm telling you, that wasn't my story. It was not my story. I actually prepped myself. I prepped myself for. I had an exit strategy. Let me put it this way. I had
Okay.
it in the back of my mind. I was thinking about building my own business because I realized that if I work for the system for the rest of my life, that and you know what the system is. The system is gonna just kill me, not physically, but emotionally inside. And
Yeah.
I knew that from the beginning, that I am not the person who would stay in the system and who would follow the rules for the rest of my life, because I have way too much life inside of me, and that life needs to be lived, okay, outside of the system. And I've started thinking about actually doing my own business long before I quit my job. And I quit when I was ready for it. It wasn't fully formed, my business at that time, but I knew that I have to make that step in order to step it up, you know.
Hmm.
So And writing actually didn't replace that also. It just expanded my life. Like everything that I do, I don't do it overnight. It comes, it boils in me. I prep myself for it. And sometimes, we are so busy being like responsible, raising children, like busy, building careers and blah, 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 and everything. But we stop listening to the voice inside of us, right? And that voice is very quiet, and we usually really don't catch it until it starts like really yelling to us, whoever is able to hear that, yeah, right? So for me, writing what was that voice, and I was always writing, even when I was working in a board of education. Like it was like formal therapy for me. But then it's just stopped being formal therapy. It started just like being my self-expression. So
Okay.
I would say that my advice would be, just don't make decisions out of fear, because the fear is always there. It's always outside, right? But don't make this fear comfortable either, because comfort can become its own kind of a person, right? So you're always going to be scared. You're always going to be fearful of stuff. And my advice would be just close your eyes and just go through it, just like this, because the only way is through. You don't have to become a different person while you're doing it, right? You just have to give yourself a permission to become a more maybe complete version of who you already are. And that we all know who we are deep inside. We all do, no matter how much we're trying to dilute it, right? And sometimes for somebody it means starting a business, maybe, right? Sometimes it means maybe start writing something if you want to, or maybe start drawing something if you're into that, start dancing if you're into that. Sometimes it's just simply means saying yes to something that you've been postponing for many, many, many years. And maybe it will eventually become your business, maybe it's not, but at least it will give you a chance to look at yourself, right, from a different perspective,
Listen,
and start taking chances that will come with this new vision that you have in your
got you.
mind,
Like it.
you know.
All right. I want to ask you a couple more questions before we close out. So, kind of a two-part question, Natalia. What has vulnerability cost you, and what is it giving you back?
Oh, Jewel. Vulnerability. Oh, I love this question actually. I think vulnerability has cost me certainty. Okay, because for a long time, I liked having all the answers. Okay, I liked knowing what I was doing, being competent, being person others could rely on, and that's how I built my business. That's how I raised my family. That's how I did
Yeah,
everything. Right. That's how I navigated life. But um, vulnerability gave me back. Um, it's just it gave me a genuine connection with myself, and um, I've had like readers actually reach out to me from completely different backgrounds and tell me, I don't know what I believe about like past lives or whatever, but your story made me think about my own life and in a completely different way. And to me, that's the point. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything, and I'm just inviting people to ask bigger questions about who they are with my own vulnerability, because I'm being very vulnerable about that and I'm being very open about that, you know.
yeah. And I love that you're doing that on our show. I definitely appreciate you for being vulnerable here for sure. We always try to end the flagship with a question that we call the mirror check.
Hmm.
If there's somebody that's listening today, which I'm sure they will be either live or on replay, it happens all the time. If someone listening today that kind of realizes that, their life isn't exactly what they thought, and this and that they're in that gap, that place between letting go of the familiar and venturing out into the unfamiliar. What is one or two pieces of advice you can give them real quickly about what it looks like to reinvent yourself and rebrand yourself? what would you say to him today?
Okay. I would think, I'd say don't assume that because one chapter of your life is ending, your life is falling apart. Okay. It may simply be asking for you to grow. Okay. Reinvention doesn't always start with big decision. Sometimes it starts with like simple, very subtle questions like what I have been putting off because I'm too busy, too comfortable. And the second thing is don't wait until you become fearless because it's never going to happen. I don't think anyone ever is. So
Yeah, that's not
every
fair.
meaningful thing that I've done is through the fear. So just these two things. I think this is the quickest that I can
Yeah, I mean, no,
come up with.
profound. That's fine. It's profound and it's right to the point. And we definitely appreciate that. Nataliya, thank you for being here, for being vulnerable on our show, sharing your story. I know there's a lot more to what you've been doing that we can get into or we hear on future podcasts. But thank you again for being here and doing this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I hope I will inspire somebody today to do something interesting.
I think you definitely have. If you guys are watching and listening for the first time, thanks for making us part of your week. Nataliya's website is on the screen for you guys that are listening and not watching us. It's also going to be in the show notes and in the comment section. Nataliya Falevich, FALEVICH.com. You can find it in the show notes in the comment section. If you need it, catch me on social media. I'll be happy to connect you with Nataliya. I'm sure she'll be following me on Facebook and YouTube before the end of the day today, hopefully. But if you guys are watching us, thanks again for making this part of your day. If the episode resonated with you at all, even a little bit, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with somebody who's in a season of transition like we were, somebody who's questioning what's next, or who's looking for more of a deeper fulfilled life. Follow Nataliya, NataliyaFalevich.com. You can follow me at They Call Me Mr. U on our YouTube channel or on Facebook, and wherever you get your podcast from. Don't forget, and we always say this, the difference between who you are and who you could be is found in what you do every single day. That's Nataliya Falevich. I'm Mr. U. Thanks for watching The Flagship.